and work our way up to the next mound. So you would want to drive off, right? Am I right in that being the most efficient way to drive off?
It'll be slow. It'll be slower to drive down it and keep the seafloor in view versus just driving over and dropping down.
No, we don't need to do that. We'll, get down there as fast as we can in that case, and then move up.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go to the summit here, forward a little bit more. This is pretty much it, but let's peek up a little bit more up to the top of this thing, and then once we reach the top, we can dive off the cliff.
This is pretty much the summit here, guys.
Can we zoom? Let's see.
This is the top of the molehill.
Yeah. Can we look at that basket star?
Sure. So when we come off this thing, then you don't want us. We don't have to have the. Rather, we don't have to have a good visual of the ground. We can.
That's correct. Yeah. I mean, for survey purposes, for surveying biology, it's really bad.
Right.
To get video going down slope. Hard to.
Yeah, unless we drive backwards, but that's a little bit, or sideways, just a little bit slower.
No. So I think the best thing to do in that case would be to drop down to the base and then start up so that they can get rocks up this feature, next feature.
Roger.
That is a weird base there.
That is a weird base.
It's got maybe several separate settlement events going on there. Okay, thank you. And over to the left, one more thing.
All right.
There, it's out a little bit. It's always on the edge of the full wide view.
Come wide view.
Yeah, keep going left. In the 8 o'clock position, there's a red splotch, round red splotch on the rock.
Oh, wow, you have eyes like a hawk.
9 o'clock.
Really small red splotch.
Uh-huh.
How do you see that stuff, Steve?
They have a bigger monitor, and he's got his face pressed up against it.
Yeah. Got a monocle.
Yeah.
I look at a lot of deep sea video. A lot. Not as much as you all, but I know what to look for biologically. Shapes that stand out.
Just touch the ground here and stabilize us, because we're going to be zooming pretty far on this guy.
Yeah. It's a pretty small thing.
Yep. Too far. How about this? All right, video, you want to push in a little bit there? That's good. I'm just going to bump down once on the pan and tilt. One more.
Okay. So what we got here is a cup coral.
What is cup coral?
And
a little tiny
purple coral.
Purple.
Yeah.
One bump up. Sorry for the video.
So here are my thoughts.
You can push full in if you want their video.
I would like to
Roger.
image this, and I would like to slurp this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you do.
Do you think you have to break it off first and slurp, or is it?
I think if you put the nozzle on the edge or over the top, you should be able to just kind of crack it off at the base, and then it'll come right up.
Do you want this one and the purple one?
Yes, please. Read my mind.
Cool.
The best you can.
Roger.
The purple's going to be tough, so if it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
Sure thing. Okay. Let me know when you got your images, and then I'll set up to take a slurp.
Okay. Got lots of images.
All right. Then come wide, please, video.
You can pick them up, too, if you're clever.
Yeah. I'm
Might be hard with the fingers. You need the parallel jaws for that.
yeah, for good scrape.
Yeah, my suggestion is to slurp only because it's small enough it'll probably come up in the vacuum, and
Roger.
yeah, it probably fall through the jaw, right?
If we had the parallel jaws, you can pick them up, but I don't know, with these big snaggletooth fingers, I don't think you'd have much luck.
Yeah, I want to. These are super delicate, and we need the structure to identify everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we'd have better luck with the slurp.
Sorry guys, I'm gonna come back out for a second. Straighten myself out.
They are hard to pick up without smashing them. What am I doing here? Hercules. Flushing.
Roger.
So 6 is still.
Yeah, 6 is still open.
There's no squat lobster bits in there that you're worried about. So he seemed to have gotten away intact. Rotating.
Kinda wanna
You're on
set up
6.
Roger. We'll see how this out.
Pin it hard.
Preemptive scrape off there, huh? Okay, let me get one more spot.
There's your victim and your nozzle and bubble.
Roger, thank you.
Mike and Kylie in the winch room. What are they doing in there?
It's a pretty curious grip, but we'll see. All right.
You want to rotate a little so we can see the end of the nozzle a bit?
Sure.
There you go.
All right, video, you want to push in a little bit there, please? It's good.
Okay. What do you think for vacuum? 50?
Let's try, yeah, we can try 50. Smear to the right.
Think you got him. There he is.
That's it. Yep.
All Alright,
There it
go ahead and
is.
zero
Just
that.
gonna stop
Awesome.
the vacuum.
Just that easy.
Do you want this purple one too and that one too?
Yeah, if you can get the purple, yeah. I didn't know how big that actually was.
I have the vacuum off at the moment. You wanna? If I turn it on, it might beat him up in the
Yeah, it's
jar.
gonna beat him up.
We can try
Yeah,
a low flow rate. Like
Yeah, go low flow because this is not heavy.
30,
Okay,
maybe?
it's 10, 20.
Data, can you confirm this is sample
30.
029?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it might be a tough one. It's so small.
Yeah. Try one more time and then if not,
One more try, and that'll be that.
I think this dive will definitely make it into the Slurp highlight reel for 2019.
alright, yeah, it looks like there's not really anything going in.
All right, let's call that a good sample then. 1 cup coral,
Suction off.
and we can make motions to go towards the base of the next feature.
Roger.
Is that lined up on flush there? I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
Flushing.
Sorry. It was a little rough on that one.
I don't know how that mesh got on the flush jar.
Thanks, Dan. Ooh.
Okay, we're going to be heading 140. So if you get in, if Argus faces 140, and then you get in front of Argus at 140.
Yep, sounds good.
And then I'll track a line.
Alright.
And we'll just drive.
Turn and burn.
Yeah. We don't need to do tow mode or anything. It's not that far, and so we'll just drive. And Herc can drive fast enough. So.
You want me to wait to turn, or?
You're fine. Just seeing how much wraps we're gonna put in. Clean on.
How fast do you want to go there, Jess?
0.3 sounds good.
0.3.
0.3.
We could do half.
Gonna do 0.5?
Yeah, let's see. Half a knot. How far are we going? It's 800. So.
You wanna come up a bit there on the delta there, Dan?
Copy, coming up.
Yeah, let's go half a knot if we can, because it'll take 45 minutes to get there.
I'm gonna hold off here for a minute. My turn.
Rumor is Herc will do a knot.
Yeah,
I'd rather 0.5.
0.7 is a definite. I think Herc could do a knot.
I know Herc can do a knot.
Yeah. We'll start at 0.5. They can increase at the next watch if they want.
If you actually drag Argus out a little bit, then you have time to stop
good on
and
the delta.
smell the roses.
You wanna come down on the delta, please?
Sorry, sleeping on the winch. Okay, stretch it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
you
some
good to
tether.
go?
Yep, go ahead and call it in.
Bridge nav. We'd like to track a line, speed 0.5 knots, bearing 138. Thank you.
So, Steve, to confirm, we don't need visual contact with the ground.
That's right, yeah.
And it's all downhill from here?
It's all downhill from here.
It's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
More of a glass is half full type of person.
Yeah. It's funny that downhill is associated, like it's downhill from here, it's all going down. But then uphill is also like, well, it's an uphill battle.
What's that?
There's no real ideal slope. Everyone's just unhappy all the time. Glass half empty. Yeah. Subpar. You want to be subpar.
You can keep visual to see better if you want. Can you do that? Fly half a knot at the same time?
Not at this down of a slope, I don't think, because we already have trouble flying down slope and seeing the seafloor. You could make an attempt.
Do you think it's that steep?
If you want.
I think it will be that steep. Yes. The top is a bit flatter than the sides.
Oh yeah.
We can drop down a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could make an attempt. There's nothing. There shouldn't be anything like in front of you.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on the sonars. By we, I mean lead for 6 minutes.
Can we zoom out on HiPAC to see the path towards waypoint 4?
Would you mind squaring up on the bubble too when you get a sec?
What's that?
Squaring up
There
on
you
the
go.
bubble cam on the porch.
Oh,
So
sorry.
we're dropping down to this base here, up to the target, and then they may want to visit this.
Yeah, let me
eventually
discuss that
this
with the
one.
next watch to see what they want to do.
Okay, I'll leave this like this for now.
Yeah, it may be target peak or it may be the one that's northeast of target peak, but
Yeah.
can course correct, right?
Yeah, no worries. We're at least getting off the mound.
I'm gonna come down a little bit more if we want to maintain a little
Yeah,
contact.
coming down all the time. So I'll hold it at 20 if you want to try and keep it in view.
Yeah. All right, that's good, I think. Sorry about that. You want to come down a bit more on the delta? Okay, that should be good, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to keep coming down all the time, so.
Yeah.
I think the kids are hovering, so. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, guys.
And good morning to everyone watching on nautiluslive.org. Your 4 to 8 shift is shuffling in, getting comfortable, getting ready for some more exploration on these cones off of Palmyra Atoll in the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument. We're getting settled, and once we get settled, we'll be exploring some more on these cones. You know, we've seen a lot of biology, some really cool lava flow formations on these cones, and we're excited to be back in the van to explore some more.
Good evening.
Good morning, team.
Morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
So I was just talking with Steve, and I think for we might navigate a little bit. If I can go to my monitor, right? So, no, wrong monitor. Where it says target peak on, I think we're gonna pass that one. There's a little seam out to the right that's kind of misshapen. It's kind of got some ridges. If we can go just straight there, I think we're gonna start mapping that and then work our way to waypoint 4, and that probably will take the rest of the dive.
Alright, roger that. So just shoot for the kind of peak of that one.
Yeah, well, a little before the peak, so we can go up the peak. And then, yeah.
Okay. So you good with tracking the line across the flat area in between as well? And then stopping right before?
Yeah, so you can go at whatever good pace.
Alright. Roger that.
Oh, we're not doing this guy?
No, we're going to skip that one.
Skipping.
Alrighty. We're looking about bearing 115 and 1,340 meters.
Holy moly. Thanks, Steve.
Are you guys good with 0.5 knots still?
Yeah, sure, yeah. Perfect.
Bridge nav?
They've been saving all the good traffic for the volcanologists on
Request
board.
we change our line to bearing 115 at 0.5 knots.
Starting to feel like it's on purpose.
Thank you.
They're just saving all the good questions on wiggle marks, deep sea fish for Kevin.
No, I think it's because I called the sea star a starfish yesterday at the beginning of the watch. Steve's just salty about it.
Even when Steve says, hey, there's a, whatever he calls it, I still call it a starfish. Or a fat sand dollar.
Is this irregularly shaped feature still probably a volcanic cone?
Yeah, it looks like a volcanic cone that had probably a slump or something on the bottom side of it. If I remember correctly, all of these features have like high reflectivity, so there's shouldn't be much or any soft sediment on top of them.
So Kevin, apparently on the last watch, they were saving a question for you.
Uh-huh.
I hear it's about
You're all right
dating.
there.
Yeah, it's about
Nice.
how do we find out how old these lava flows are? How do you do it?
Well, arguably, and this is from bias, but the best way is to radiometrically date them. So use the laws of radioactive decay to determine how old they are. So when these rocks form, they tend to form with a certain amount of potassium that we can measure, and they tend to form with a certain amount of argon that we know what the ratio of that argon is typically, because it tends to form with the same ratio you find in the atmosphere, or the deep sea in this case. And so then we can analyze the decay product of potassium, which is argon 40, and look how much that is through time, how much that grows in, and depending on how much concentration there is and the ratios involved, we can determine the age of the rock. There's some more complexities, which are hard to describe, but that's essentially the general idea. So I'll take the rock and analyze the isotopes and the chemistry of it, and from there I can determine how old it is, assuming it's not completely recrystallized.
Could we turn slightly to port and get eyes on that fish, maybe?
Hey.
Eyes on the fish.
Zoom in a bit there.
Oh, that fish has pretty eyes.
Looks very cool.
Looks cool in the snow.
Probably a type of grenadier rat tail based on the body form.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much.
Roger.
Coming wide.
Bye-bye, fish. Hey team, are we at a comfortable point to do a quick round of introductions?
I think so.
Awesome. How about ROVs? You guys good?
Yeah, we're happy.
Cool. All right, so hello to everyone that's joining us on nautiluslive.org. It is your favorite watch team from 4 to 8 here back in the van, ready to go. My name is Al Leszczynski. I am your Science Communication Fellow on this leg, hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Happy to be here. Let me pass it down the line.
In the video chair, this is Steve from Boston, video engineer. Happy to be here.
Hi, good morning. Kylie, I'm sitting in the Argus chair. I'm from Fall River, Massachusetts. I'm also happy to be here.
Fall River in the house.
Michael Hannaford, Herc chair. Also happy to be here.
Chris Jakes, navigator's chair, nav intern from the Coast Guard Academy, and shout out to Massachusetts, Harwich, Mass.
Yeah.
Kevin Conrad from Salem, Oregon, and I'm ambiguous about being here.
It is quite early.
Oh, wow.
Originally where we're from or where we live?
Whatever you feel most connected to.
Yeah.
What do you consider home?
Allison Fundis, originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Great state, oceanography state of Tennessee.
Jamie Wagner, data logger for the watch and one of the science managers. I'm from North Carolina, and
I wanted to say something other than I'm happy to be here, but my brain's not working that well. So we'll stick with that.
That is fair. So we are in the midst of our second dive here during this expedition leg of the season. We are off of Palmyra Atoll in the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument. We've been exploring some of these seafloor cones, volcanic cones, and apparently they did a lot of sampling in the previous watches of biology, and we're going to continue exploring this area. We're headed towards a cone feature that seems to be a bit slumped. Is that the term we were using, Kevin?
Oh no. Yeah, post entry. Looks like it's kind of dissected in half almost.
Got it. So like part of that cone that we're headed towards kind of fell off or went downwards. Reminder that you can send your questions in below that video feed. Kevin, we've got some more inquiries about the dating process of these rocks.
Awesome.
Good clarification.
Yeah, I caught myself there.
I would say anchoramites are more my type, but I'm willing to float around.
So we've got a viewer writing in there wondering, but what if the ratio of the decay product is off when it's formed? Does that
So that can definitely happen.
yeah, will that affect
so
the outcome of the dating process, and how much?
it will greatly affect it depending on what technique you use. So if you use the older technique of potassium-argon dating, where you just measure the total concentration of argon-40 and argon-36, then you can use, when you measure the concentration of argon-40, you use then the concentration of argon-36 to correct for how much atmosphere you think there is, assuming a constant atmospheric ratio. But that's not always the case, especially with volcanic rocks. Earth's mantle doesn't have an atmospheric ratio, so if it captures a lot of volcanic gases as it forms, it will start with a non-atmospheric initial condition, which will make your age significantly older than in reality. However, I use a technique called argon-argon geochronology, which basically, instead of measuring absolute concentrations, I irradiate the sample, and then I can measure argon-40 and argon-39, which is a non-natural isotope of argon, which forms from irradiation of potassium. And in that way, I can measure the ratio and use a standard to normalize what the actual age means relative to the ratio. And I can do multiple heating steps. So when I analyze a sample, I don't just do one analysis. I slowly heat it, measure it, heat it hotter, measure the ratio, heat it a little hotter, and continue doing that. And what that allows is I can build what's called an isochron, essentially just how the ratio changes for every step. And depending on the intercept of that isochron, it will tell me what the initial value is. So it should trend through the initial value. It's kind of hard to explain without an imagery, but that allows me, if it does have a non-atmospheric initial value, I can then correct for that and get a more accurate age.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
this is the more modern technique. And one of the big issues with the Line Islands is a lot of the geologies and interpretation are based on K-argon ages from like the early 1980s. And so there's a big spread of ages. There's some like non-consistent ages. And so I'm really looking to try to refine that using modern techniques and hopefully get a clearer picture of what's going on with these kind of weird seamounts.
Very cool. Thank you.
No problem.
And it looks like we've got a pop quiz written in from somebody who was watching on our earlier watch. Pop quiz. Who remembers how many legs a shrimp has?
26.
26, but 10 for walking.
10 for swimming.
I was close with 8. Still sticking by.
Both are correct answers.
10 for walking, 10 for swimming,
Or the same
3
time.
pairs for eating.
And if you ever watch the highlight videos, at least 2 for pinning down a fish, which was a really cool video.
That was a really cool video. And shout out to our viewer Hayes, our 6-year-old friend here, who's wondering how to become a member of our team and do ocean exploration. Well, you're off to a great start by being interested in this sort of stuff and watching along with us here. And if you want to, you know, check out the rest of the website with a grown-up, you can check out nautiluslive.org and kind of check out what sort of pathways a lot of the different people on this ship have done, what sort of things we did throughout school that sort of got us interested in this. But staying curious is the biggest one, learning as much as you can about what interests you. And, you know, thanks for watching, Hayes.
Hi, Hayes.
Hey, Hayes.
Hey, Hayes.
We have some coloring pages that can be downloaded from the website.
Oh, yeah. If you check out on nautiluslive.org, if you check the education tab, we actually have a lot of different resources from full lesson plans to, you know, coloring pages, bingo that you can play during these watches. And, you know, again, you can check out that page with a grown-up, see if you find anything you wanna check out, and go from there. And let us know how you liked it.
Wait, are you telling me that we could be playing bingo right now?
Or coloring?
We are the bingo.
I love coloring.
Hey, Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
We've got our friend Kelsey, who's actually been writing in some really interesting navigation questions in the earlier watch, wondering if your job gets any more difficult as the ROVs go deeper.
Yeah. So it a little bit is a fight with trigonometry. So the deeper you go, when you have, let's say, 3,000 meters of cable dangling beneath the ship, there's a little more time that you have to think about, a little forward thinking to compensate, because it will take a little bit longer for ship movement to respond all the way down to the bottom. But really it's just adjusting the way you go about things and just the timing of how everything flows. So I wouldn't say per se more difficult, just a little bit more to think about. If I'm not wrong, Kelsey is my dog, and that would be my parents.
Is
So
this a
hi
code
guys.
thing?
Yeah.
If this is true, bark twice, Kelsey.
If not, if it's just someone named Kelsey who's really interested, thank you. But I have a really strong feeling.
How many E's in Kelsey, the way your dog spells it?
K-E-L-S-E-Y. Yeah, okay.
Either way, thanks for the questions, Kelsey.
Well, hi, Kelsey.
How many lumens are we working with on Hercules' headlamp? Or any of the lights there?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to.
We're going to have to get back to you on that.
All right. Good question. We'll get back to you.
A lot?
Brighter than your car's headlights.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a difference between LEDs and like our incandescent bulbs, but I don't know what the lumens are on them.
We're investigating.
And thank you to everybody who's writing in good morning. Good morning to you as well.
Okay, we've got the lumens.
We do.
The light matrix that has the 3 LED lamps are 20,000 lumens. And those are the ones that are forward mounted. And then we also have 6 to 12, and Mike can say how many we have on the vehicle right now, of the deep sea power and light sphere LED lamps. Do we have those on right now?
Yeah, everything's on right now except the pan and tilt particle enhancer.
So the second set are 6,000 lumens each.
Sounds like quite a bit of lumens.
Yeah, and those spheres, there's 6 of those in the front, plus the 2 matrix ones.
We got 2 barks from Kelsey. So
Nice.
hello to Chris's parents. Thanks for writing in those good questions. Keeping them busy over there.
Yeah, there's a
So for this change of path that we're doing, are we kind of cutting through the water to get to that next point more quickly, or are we heading to the bottom at any point during this?
We're just going to go over there pretty quickly. So right now we're coming down the other side of that volcano,
Mm-hmm.
the tall one that we just climbed up.
Yeah.
It's really hard for us to go downslope with the
Yeah.
vehicles. So we're just kind of jumped off the top of it, and we're just going to head straight over to the base of the next one.
Very nice.
I pretty much guarantee that once we get off the feature from below us, it's going to be more of the sand.
Yep,
Ripley
that's
sand.
what I was thinking.
At our current speed, we got an ETA of the base of the next feature in about an hour.
Sounds like we'll see a bit more of that feature than we got to see at that first cone when we dropped off at the end of our watch.
Yeah, well, when we first jumped, I guess, as we were saying, off this one, as we were getting up to speed, it said like 3.5 hours. So I was really worried there for a second.
And that's why you didn't
But
say that number out loud to us.
I didn't say that out loud. But now we're up to speed, and it's come down to an hour, so that's like a little bit better.
Beautiful. Hear that, folks? We got about an hour to the base of our next cone, so send in those questions you've got about ocean exploration for, you know, anybody in the van. We've got geologists, we've got biologists, ROV pilots, video engineers, navigators. So send in your questions and we'll do our best to answer those. Just like bit my tongue as I said the word answer.
I'm going to switch completely over to USB-O.
So I'll take a go at answering this question we got here about daily life on the ship. They're wondering when we're at sea, what is it like out here on the ship? What is daily life like? And I know it's different depending on what your role is, because there's different duties that we all have to do. But from my perspective, you know, we have our watch schedules, you know, 4 to 8. This is our team right here. So 4 to 8 ship time in the AM and 4 to 8 ship time in the PM. We are in the control van if our vehicles are in the water, and if we're not in the water with the vehicles, each different role has some different things to do. Like our ROV pilots and engineers are cleaning those vehicles, taking care of all of the technology on board. Myself, as a science communication fellow, I spend some time in the shipboard studio talking with schools, museums, camp groups all around the country about what we're doing, and also writing blogs, sorting dive captures, also be writing a lot of stuff for my home institution at the Franklin Institute about the experience, and I also do a lot of sleeping in between those watches. I don't know if anybody else on board wants to give a little perspective on what they do, their daily life on board, but that's what I do.
All right, I'm getting a couple stares. So yeah, as navigator for the dives, it's pretty similar on the watches 4 to 8. So you fit in, you know, daily activities, off watch if you can. Definitely get sleep in before your watch, so you can show up and not be such a buzzkill once we get up here. But even when we're not on dives, as navigator, we have watches for our seafloor mapping. So when we use our multi-beam to get the bathymetric data of the seafloor, we basically have to sit and overwatch the software so that we make sure we're getting the best readings that we can, so that whether we're sending off that data for someone else to use or using it for a future dive, it is the most accurate it can be.
Very nice, thank you.
I can do a round as well.
Yeah.
So for data loggers, we sort of, assuming that it's during times that we're actively diving versus like earlier this cruise where we were transiting, we rotate through sitting watch and taking notes and captures and logging samples during a dive in 4-hour shifts, just like everyone else. And then when we're off watch, if the vehicles had just been recovered, we process all the samples that come off, which I can speak to a little bit more in a second. And we alternate that with writing up some summary reports and summary spreadsheets about the data from the previous dive that will go into the final cruise report so that people can get a quick overview of what happened during that dive and all the samples that were collected. And we alternate that with sleeping. So sort of on watch in the lab processing samples, typing up some summary data, and sleeping. And a little bit more about processing samples, just for anyone that's interested. So we take the biology and geology, so rocks in this particular cruise, off the vehicle, bring them into the wet lab, and then we photograph each sample with a scale bar, and we subsample them cruise specific on where exactly it'll go and how it's divided up, but the general plan is biological samples go to the Museum of Comparative Zoology at Harvard, which is our archive for biological samples that scientists can then request later to do more detailed analyses in their home labs. And our geological samples go to the Graduate School of Oceanography at the University of Rhode Island. And again, scientists can request those to take back and do more detailed analyses. So the rocks get dried and the biology gets preserved in ethanol typically, which is good for DNA preservation.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Could you also maybe speak a little bit more about the eDNA
Oh,
stuff?
yeah. I didn't mention our water samples. So if on the dive we took a water sample for eDNA analysis, eDNA is environmental DNA. So that sample is taken with the Niskin container. So to process that one, we fill up a little plastic water bottle, which looks very similar to the collapsible water bottles that people sometimes use for travel or hiking.
Mm-hmm.
So we fill up one of those with water, and then we take it into the wet lab and pour it through a very fine filter, which will catch all the DNA, which will catch all of the DNA that was in the water wherever we took this sample. So we pour that through, catch all the DNA, and then preserve the filter to be sent off to be analyzed later. So what that's basically doing is allowing us to get a sort of picture of what animals were in, or bacteria, were in a particular region without us necessarily seeing them or physically sampling them. So we can have a snapshot of who might be nearby or have passed through the area, even if we can't see them at the moment.
And so the things that are getting captured are things like the mucus from different things and gametes and skin cells and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Also, Science Row, you're in quad view. Kevin already noticed.
Do you want to keep going down the line?
Yes.
My coffee's still
slowly
yeah,
taking
very
effect.
slowly. Let's see, what am I? I am expedition leader for this cruise, and that means my general role is to be pretty much the cruise coordinator. So making sure all the teams are in good shape with the goals of each day and pretty much each hour. So ship time is pretty expensive, so we want to make sure that we're maximizing all of the time that we spend out here and are always doing something to towards exploration. So it's my role to make sure and facilitate that all of the appropriate conversations are happening online, liaise between the science team, the ROV team, the education team, as well as the ship's crew and those on shore, and just make sure everything's working and moving along.
Very nice.
Kevin, as a guest scientist on board, guest geologist, most of my responsibilities are here, just to narrate and discuss to the best of my ability what kind of geology we're looking at.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I've been learning a lot.
In between these watches, I'll participate in dive plan discussions and try to figure out where to go next on these dives. Lobby to get more rocks.
Successfully.
Successfully, yes.
Good job.
I mean, Steve is very good, very competent, but I'm still trying to push him around and get more rocks. But so far, things are going well. And yeah, I answer emails, try to continue doing what I would be at home. I am getting paid by my normal salary, so I have to kind of get some of those responsibilities through while I'm on board.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thank you, Science. And it looks like we've got a big family all watching together on nautiluslive.org right now, so I want to give a shout out to them in South Carolina. Thanks for joining in and making it a family affair. We're really happy to have you all joining in, and send in your questions if you got them. We're still going to be heading towards the base of this volcanic cone. We're heading through the water now, headed towards that cone, where we'll continue getting a survey of the geology in the area, the formation, as well as the biological communities that inhabit this area. Also, hi Mom. Thanks for watching. And there are different species of tripod fish. We've actually seen a couple different species on these dives. I don't know how many we've seen. Jamie.
Ow.
Could you speak to that about how many kinds of, tripod fish we may have been seeing on the last two dives?
That's a tough call because I can only speak to what I was on watch for. Because otherwise I was doing those other things I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I can think of at least 2 to 3 different ones that we've seen.
Yeah. And according to one of the shore-based scientists, they vary by depths. So the ones we were seeing on the last dive at deeper depths were probably a different species than the ones we're seeing on this one.
So maybe